We came together as a community to be open and welcoming to everyone.
It was just amazing. We started out with 50 people coming, and before we knew it, we had 100 and then a couple of hundred.
The interest in the Jewish community was way beyond anything we could anticipate.
We outgrew the space, and the board decided, well, we needed to do a new building.
We had a lot of people who were involved, wanted to be involved. There's nothing better for a Jewish congregation than having a lot of people who want to be involved.
These were giant women and men, the founders of Micah, and they knew about leadership, and they knew about vision, and they knew about this community of Nashville.
This idea of equality and righteousness and justice, and those are really hallmarks of the prophet Micah, for whom this congregation is named. Those were there from the beginning, and I think they still exist today for the congregation.
This is the kind of place where we don't judge, we just love. We have a lot of gratitude, and I think a lot of people feel that gratitude also for the people who helped create it.
The first meeting I remember is the one at your house. And then we got together and had a meeting at Vanderbilt Plaza, and we had, as I recall, 80 family units showed up for the meeting.
We got seating in there for maybe about 50 people. We know we're going to have more people than that. And I said, Dick, you don't have enough seats in this room. And Dick says, no. He says, we've got enough seats. It makes it look like we weren't expecting as many people when we bring in more seats.
Remember that about 60 family units out of the 80 ended up staying with it and joining the congregation.
When the meeting started, y'all divided up the responsibilities. And you were in charge of fundraising, and you were in charge of members, and you had the big job of being in charge of doing all of the fiscal responsibilities of building buildings, 2 of them, rebuilding the first one and building this one. It was a very quick process from the first meeting at our house until we were a sanctioned congregation and we were looking for, a building and moving on.
The property that was found for rent was in Bellevue, and it was a former disco, and it had the crystal ball. It was just fantastic. The day we signed the lease, the sprinkler system went off and flooded the place, and but we got through that. Our first High Holy Days were in September of that year, and up until that point, from March until September, we had congregants who were fluent, let's not say fluent, and
We just took turns.
whether they could speak
Families
Hebrew or
took
not.
turns, yeah.
But
They could read Hebrew.
they could hold a service. So each Friday night and Saturday, we had services, even though we didn't have a rabbi.
The very first service, Dick led, as a matter of fact. And it was, do you remember, it was outside?
The last service I ever led, because I didn't know a word of Hebrew, and they didn't fire me from that. I quit.
Marty Rosenberg suggested we have name tags for the members.
Yeah.
And I said, it's a good idea, will you make them? And she did.
The name tags of the members permitted us to then recognize those who were coming to visit, to look at who are you guys, would I fit in here? And it gave all of us an opportunity to talk to them, to befriend them, and all of those things that would ultimately attract them as members.
We were so excited that this small group could accomplish such a thing that we actually all went to services every Friday night. It was just amazing. It was really exciting, but really hard work. And I did the bookkeeping and answering the phone and washing the dishes.
She kept both sets of books. It was amazing.
If the floor needed vacuuming, somebody grabbed the vacuum cleaner. Whoever
It's true.
was there did whatever needed to be done.
Absolutely.
It was all of us, and
It was
that way through.
participatory.
Yeah, it was very participatory.
It was ours, as opposed to joining an existing temple and you're a new member. We made it happen
We're the staff.
and enjoyed every minute of it.
It was a new enterprise, and it was more than a business, but it was worrying about if anybody was going to show up, and worrying about the staffing, and worrying about if you're going to have a crowd for the services, and if you didn't have more people on Friday night this week than you had last week, you may or may not have been being successful.
In the first High Holy Days, Dee hired the choir master. Ever since that time, music at Micah has been one of the outstanding features of this congregation.
True.
A lot of congregations are, you make it or break it based on the spiritual leader. And we had somebody who was very popular, and he had the entrepreneurial spirit as well.
Young and energetic.
Young and energetic. His philosophy was the same as the philosophy of the founding members of the
He
congregation.
kind of
and that-
personified congregation like that.
Right, he did.
So Rabbi Cantor, in due process, was approved by the congregation, and he was approved by the Rabbinical Association, and each and every member of the fraternity said okay, and he's a likable personality, so that was enough to get the base together.
I was the rabbi of the Ox Memorial Temple in Chattanooga. I remember when I called the placement director in New York, and I said, I'm planning to leave, and I want to put my name in as a candidate for this brand new split-off congregation in Nashville. And he said, you're crazy. And I said, well, to you it's crazy, but I know those 40 or 50 people. And it's not just 40 or 50 people, it's 40 or 50 leaders who have vision of what they want Micah to be. Everything was done by the members. So if you wanted the room and all the chairs reset for services for Shabbat, guess who did it? It was the membership. So that was a challenge, but it was one of the great energies of that experience of that time was everyone was part of everything. No one ever said to me, well, 50 years ago when my father or grandfather was temple president, that's the way we did things. We didn't have that. We were creating from nothing. And that was a challenge, but boy, was it fun. Ultimately, they created this thing that we called the Micah Miracle, which in a lot of ways was just that, to turn a vision and an idea into what the congregation has become. They were able to pull an idea in the minds of Dick and Howard and Jerry into a reality for people that changed the whole Jewish world of Nashville.
We outgrew the space. We had Sunday school classes on the stairs. Anywhere you could find a space, there was a group of kids or adults, and then the adults had to quit meeting because there wasn't room enough for the kids.
I heard about a property that the Kelly family had out on where we are now, and they wanted to sell it. Part of this is in the floodplain, but a lot of it is not.
It's a project that was also our temple. It could be tough, you could do this, you worry about price and what about this and that, but you never lost sight of what it was going to be. Square footage, everything else imaginable, but it was also going to be a religious home for the congregation, and we never forgot that. And as you can see, it turned out pretty good.
One of the issues that we all were on the forefront of was that the temple did not have a rabbi that would perform interfaith marriages. Most of our congregants are not known as to what their true religion is. They can be a member here if they have a spouse who's a Jewish member, and I think that's been one of our strongest assets.
We get the opportunity to educate children about Judaism, and the kids are truly Jews, not converted, not this, not the other thing.
We are a Jewish Reform synagogue, and we include everybody.
We accept and we recognize and we feel for our fellow congregants, in this case Jewish, but if they're not Jewish, it doesn't make any serious difference.
We came together as a community to be open and welcoming to everyone. We wanted to be that open community. There was a need for it.
Micah has provided a Jewish home here in Nashville for so many families, especially those who move here from other parts of the country. They find a home here where they can find community and a circle that will be there for them during their joys and during low times as well.
Because of the kind of community that it is, I get great satisfaction out of the relationships I have, not just with leadership, but with people sometimes who have just arrived on our doorstep. Micah is a family of families, beautiful grounds and a cemetery, and a place for worship. And it allows us to share our family with Congregation Micah in a way that's both profound for us professionally and I think profound for the community.
This idea that all are equal in Judaism and in God's eyes, that is a principle that was at the forefront when the congregation began and still exists. You can see it all over the congregation today still. This idea that it doesn't matter if somebody contributes $1 million or $100, they matter equally within the congregation, within the community.
I think people spend time on what they value. And so I know that Micah is valued in the eyes of, I would say at this point, thousands of Jewish people in the Nashville Jewish area.
We ended up with big reasons, little reasons, good reasons, and bad reasons to have this congregation. Who'd have thought that what came out of those meetings is really what's been created here.
It was started in the hopes that it will be there for the children and for our children's children and our children's children's children.
What we want is to continue to be financially viable, to be strong in our faith, and to make sure that when it's time to let go, to let go.
It was a very positive circumstance, not only a religious experience and congregation, but a community and a home atmosphere.
In our community, Jews are now identifying themselves as Jews. The Jews in our community are proud to let others know who they are and what they are.
We're supposed to turn this over to another generation, which I hope we have done. We move on, but it has really been something that we've been proud of.
Do the quote again, Dick.
Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God, I believe, is some words change from here and there. Pretty good. Pretty good for a beginner, yeah.
Can you quote any other scripture?
Probably not.
Talk about your hopes and dreams for going forward from here.
We're too old to have hopes and dreams.
There's now more self-identification. We are Jews, and we make that clear a lot of ways in the community and so on, and I think that's a good thing.
Say that again. Just say that sentence. Just say it as if you didn't say it before. if you don't mind. Just say it. Just say it. Really, let's hold the tone. Just say that again.
What I just said?
What you
Yeah,
just said.
that we're-
Please.
I find this man very handsome, and what was it I said? Self-identification. The Jews in our community are proud to let others know who they are and what they are.
Now, try it 3 times. Third time.
Y'all gonna cut this, right? Because I was just.
Oh, we're gonna-
Yeah, I want you to definitely.